Welcome everyone to the Qolsys webinar today. Very excited to have everyone on today, and as everyone gets in and gets comfortable, I want to make sure that you can use the information in front of you effectively. I'm broadcasting not in our Utah office today, but live from Houston, Texas, in the W Hotel, where ironically I'm going to be at the Z-Wave convention. So a lot of letters at the end of the alphabet today. Very excited to be on today with some special guests, and we'll introduce those in just a moment. As everyone gets in and gets comfortable, gets themselves a drink of water and gets ready to participate, we want to do a little bit of housekeeping for you. First thing is we want your participation as part of this. If this is your first time coming to a Qolsys webinar, there's a chat or question section on your GoToWebinar control panel that will allow you to type in your questions, make comments. We want this discussion to be around what you want it to be. We've got some information to present to you. We've got some great guests with some tremendous insight that will help you. We want you to leverage their experience and knowledge, and we need you to participate as much as possible. That being said, let's have you test out your ability to see whether or not we can see your questions and things like that. So if you'll go to that GoToWebinar control panel, find the chat or question section, type in where you're calling in from, type in hello to us. We've also got Whitney White and Kelsey Wing, who are on our marketing team. Many of you know them from previous webinars. They are manning the questions today. They'll be answering all your questions in real time. And then questions that are relevant to the conversation, they'll be bringing that up to us, myself and the panelists today. So it should be a fun time. Thank you very much for joining in. I know it's taken a lot of time out of your day. And just to let you know, we are recording this webinar, and we'll post this on our YouTube page later on today. That being said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guest today. We've got polls first. Before we begin, we want to do a couple polls. Whitney, will you launch that first poll for us? So we want to know a little bit about our audience today to make sure that we are being effective in our conversations. The first question we have is, are you currently an Interlogix dealer? And it's a simple yes or no question. Some of you might be using Interlogix now in addition to some other brands. Some of you are not. We just want to understand what audience we're talking to. I know many of you are probably thinking, well, I won't be an Interlogix dealer for long based on the announcement we just heard, a few weeks ago, and that's just fine. But we want to understand, the level of audience we have today. So appreciate you guys taking the moment to answer that question. It looks like the vast majority of you are currently Interlogix dealers, so welcome. We should have had a poll question asking how many of you this is the first time to one of our Qolsys webinars, but hopefully if this is your first time, this is going to be a positive experience for you, and welcome to all of you that are joining. Let's go ahead and close that poll, Whitney, and let's do the second poll, which is curious to know, and I think many of you are in this situation, if you have existing customers that if you're holding your own accounts, how many you've got that are on 2G and 3G. And there's 4 different choices here, 1 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, or over 10,000. Hopefully that will I'm getting some reports from the field, from some of the questions and comments. People are saying that it's a little dark for me. That's great. Good feedback. See, this is why we have a great audience. We want to make sure that people can chime in and let us know what to change and make these things better for you. All right, so I appreciate you guys answering that. Let's give it another second to answer those polls. And then we're going to get into introducing our guest today. So very excited for this. Whitney, go ahead and close that poll out today. And I'd like to do some introductions. So first off, we have a guest that's no stranger to Qolsys, has been a tremendous advocate for us, and has been attending many events, and we've known him for years through various roles that he's played. Kirk MacDowell used to be an Interlogix executive, and has worked for Alarm.com. You've worked on the manufacturing side. You've worked, on the dealer side. Kirk, you've done a little bit of everything, and you now own MacGuard Security Advisors, a consulting firm that's really helping quite a few dealers out there in the world. Welcome to the call today. Tell us a little bit about your pedigree, and I don't want to say what makes you an expert. I think there's a lot of people who, if they don't know you, need to know you. What makes you that expert that so many people trust?
Thanks, Jeremy. Happy to be here. I think it really comes down to 39 years in this business, right? And you said it, I was an owner-operator. I was very fortunate to run a great company by the name of Post Alarm Systems, a large regional player in Southern California. I spent 9 years at GE and UTC. I was actually a customer of ITI before the acquisition by GE. And then I spent about four wonderful years at Alarm.com. So it's really kind of I look at what I do and the companies I serve is holistic, looking at all those different variables, from operating an alarm company to helping them do strategic planning and business evaluation and whatnot.
And I think it's that experience that gives you that unique perspective that allows you to say, oh, when you're talking to a manufacturer, here's what you should be looking for. Oh, when you're choosing a back end or an interactive service provider, here's the things you should consider. You know, hey, as you're building your own business, here's the things you need to make sure you're thinking of, because you have been in each of those positions and you can see it from their perspective. I think it's tremendously powerful. And you've also written quite a few articles recently that have been published in some of the trade publications. The one most recently was about, I guess it was the demise of Interlogix. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. I've written 4 or 5 articles, and they're all on MacGuard's website. But I will tell you that one probably has gotten the most comments, both from all of our friends at Interlogix and others as well. And really what I did in that article is I came up with the 4 points that I believe were the demise of Interlogix, certainly from the residential side. They're going to continue their commercial Lenel business, but from a residential side, so let me tell you what those are. Number one is the business became too impersonal, right? They stopped looking at customer and client needs, and they started referring to each other by title. And I think whenever a company starts looking at, CEO, COO, CFO, and stop referring to people by name, there's a problem there. The second thing is the product launches were really non-existent. And when they did launch, they were way too, they did not meet customer expectations, and they were behind the 8 ball. The number 3 is the company really ignored the marketplace, meaning the dealers, right? They did not go out and really seek good voice of customer. I've always said there's voice of customer, which is certainly the customer and the employee. When you combine those together, it's called voice of reason. And I think that they stopped doing that. And then fourth, lastly, is a company minimized domain expertise at the very top level of the company, right? I think people were more concerned about elevating their own next role within that organization from a senior management point of view, certainly not from the people that we all know on a day-to-day basis. But those are the 4 characteristics, and happy to say that Qolsys does not exhibit any one of those 4, Jeremy.
That's a tremendous compliment. Thank you, Kirk. You know, it's my own history in the security industry is tied closely to Interlogix as well. My first job in the security industry was a door-to-door salesman, and I was selling the Simon XT door-to-door. And I remember at the end of that summer going back to my company and, basically saying, hey, this is, our approach, everything just wasn't as advanced as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting customers to buy the technology because of what it could do. I was very impressed with what Alarm.com provided. I think that the security systems itself had a tremendous value in the market, whether you were using it for security or life safety or just for convenience and energy management. I saw some great potential in it. And I remember reaching out to my own Interlogix representative or GE representative at the time and said, hey, can you get me all of the materials and things like that? I was put in charge of building sales training for these guys, and I wanted them to understand the technology. And we got very, very little from them. I think it was a spec sheet, and that was about it. And they said we could download, they could send us some flyers that we could use and hand out to customers. But besides that, we didn't really have much at all. And I remember thinking, this technology is so awesome. It can do so much. Let's talk about it. I mean, let's advertise it. Let's, show off what it can do. And I was put, in my role in marketing and sales training, I was put on a product committee. And one of the things the product committee was set to do at this company was to give feedback to our manufacturer and say, hey, here's the things we want to do. We want to see touch screens. We want to see, these kind of materials. We want to see, these kind of features and things like that. And all of these are things that never made it to market, disappointingly. I mean, I remember the Simon XTI, when it came out, was supposed to be the answer for some of the things we were giving. We were giving a lot of feedback, and we were so disappointed that was, the market. And that was 15 or more years ago. And it still hasn't advanced since then. To your point about, there's got to be that constant evolution. It's well taken. And whether you're looking at Qolsys or someone else, you've got to have a company that's really going to innovate, because in this world, that innovation is going at a rapid pace. We've got people all over the place in Silicon Valley and outside in China, all over the nation, all over the world, who are developing technology products for the home. The Internet of Things is here. We've talked about it a lot in previous webinars, and it's time for us all as an industry to get on board with the possibilities and help put our very best foot forward so we can win that consumer's heart and mind back. And speaking of winning consumer hearts and minds, we're really honored to have Randall Duncan on the line today. Randall, you were a former Interlogix dealer. You now run Datasmart Home Technologies and Duncan Security, and you are partnering primarily with builders, but you've got a lot. You really helped bring a lot of this technology into the homes, and it's really getting a lot of attention with both the builders and the home buyers, right?
Correct. Yeah, we've been excited with what's been transpiring at as you said earlier, a very quick pace. So the Qolsys panel is being received very well by both new construction builders and our remodel builders. So we primarily focus in the new construction market, but we do see a lot of our builders starting to pick up more and more remodels. So we feel like it's a real solid solution for both of those business models for us.
That's great. I appreciate that. Tell me this. Are builders asking for this technology, or are you offering it up and they're going, ooh, I didn't know that?
Ironically, I think it's a combination of both. You've got your, we try to do quarterly reviews, or hopefully more often than that, to kind of pulse our buyers to find, our builders to find out kind of where they're at. So I would say maybe a half of the builders we meet with, have not heard of it, or maybe don't think they're looking for something more innovative. Just, let's keep doing what we're doing. It seems to be working. They come through your showroom. They've got the ability to upgrade. So we're perfectly fine with that builder, to where, that potentially they don't have enough dollars in their base package, to upgrade to the Qolsys. So we'll stick with, that standard keypad, but then we have a real nice upgrade path as they come through one of our technology showrooms. The other builders, for lack of better words, are asking for bling on the wall. I've heard the word bling 4 times in the last 60 days. And, I think as an industry, maybe we feel like we're promoting the idea of using an app, right? But more this year than I've ever asked before is, again, we want bling on the wall. They're talking, we want a good looking thermostat. We want, something like the Qolsys panel. We want to feel like there's something that we can help market the home. There's something that's tangible, and there's something that differentiates us from our competition.
And it's getting a lot of attention. I mean, D.R. Horton, for example, last November announced that, I guess almost a year ago now, announced its Home is Connected program, where they standardized with an IQ panel and a selection of Z-Wave devices in every single home, and the Alarm.com app running the whole thing when the customer's outside the home. And it's had a tremendous impact on the builder market. And I would say in many ways, it's kind of set a new standard for what a base model should include. And in many of the conversations you've had, I believe you've been able to say, hey, look, we're going to make you not only competitive, but even offer something better than what the D.R. Horton program has, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. The builders are excited about it. They're definitely, buying into the program. And I just think you mentioned earlier how fast this is going, and we're absolutely excited with what we're seeing and hearing from the builders. Again, we've been in business for 2 decades now, and this year more than ever, we are now hearing from the builder that automation, technology, Wi-Fi, when we do our check-in meetings with them, they're saying, you're right. We're talking more about this in the model homes. It's coming up more as a topic in the sales meetings, and we've definitely got to get on board with technology. So it's been pretty exciting.
And a lot of that has to do with the new devices that are out there in the market. Kirk, you and I were talking the other day about how the video doorbell didn't exist a few years ago, yet now it is proliferated tremendously. And that's created a great opportunity for us, but it's also created a possible threat, because there's companies out there that are offering video doorbells that if the consumer buys it, they potentially will move their security over to them instead of us, right?
Yeah, and Jerry, when you and I were talking the other day, we were talking about doorbells and video doorbells, and the comment that I made is that when we, as alarm dealers and integrators, protect a home, what we're doing is we're offering this layer of security, right? When they're at work and the husband or the wife wants to check to see who came in the house or the children got home, that's all part of security. That's peace of mind. And if we can offer that and people end up purchasing that through us, then essentially we've done our job, right? Not only have we protected their home from intrusion, but we've also given them peace of mind so they can stay focused at work and not worry. But you're 100% correct. If it's not tied to the intrusion system, you're essentially walking away not only from revenue, but you're giving someone the keys to your kingdom. So if they're using a doorbell that is not supported by Alarm.com or your back-end service provider, you rest assured that they're going to be contacting that customer before too long and trying to circumvent you out of that loop, and that's just not acceptable. So don't chase the shiny pennies. Be very, very focused in your approach, just like Randall is, and make sure that everything is connected in one system.
Absolutely, and that's connection, from a one platform standpoint. When you go out and you offer, a product like the IQ panel, you get one app, one platform, you're doing one training, one support, and it's going to give you access not only to the residential market, but a lot of other markets as well. We're working very hard, to build our platform in a way that it works for everything. Excuse me. We cut our teeth on residential. That was what we were, really known for. And I was actually personally slightly skeptical that when we released our software update that gave us the UL rating for commercial burglary, that people would actually say, oh, well, then I'll use that. I was really kind of thinking that a lot of people would say, no, you're not a commercial panel. But the impact has actually been the exact opposite. People love using the IQ panel in commercial settings. They love using it in Builder. And we're continuing to diversify our support. In fact, our most recent software update added elements for wellness, added a brand new wellness homepage. We added a page that's perfect for MDU, and because of the IQ Panel 2 Plus infrastructure, the way that we built all the radios inside, it's perfect for 4G upgrades as well when you're moving from 3G or 2G up to LTE. And we'll talk about that here in a moment, and from a dual SRF perspective. But that one platform that Kirk was mentioning really is critical for you as a dealer as you're going out into the market and saying, how am I going to attack this new world we live in? The world where I say, I'm going to put something in your home, and later on, I know for a fact you are going to want something else. You are going to want a video doorbell. You're going to want an indoor camera. You're going to want flood detection, and you're going to want life safety. You're going to want smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. You're going to want cameras. You're going to want all these things. And you're not going to want multiple apps to control it all. You want one app. And you're not going to have to call different people to do it. You're going to call me. And I'm going to be the one that's going to provide that service for you, Mr. Customer. And you, Mr. Dealer, in the position sitting in this webinar, listening in, can understand and know that Qolsys has you covered. We've got the capability to give you everything you need in one platform and make it very, very easy for you to do everything that you need to do. And we continue to innovate, like Kirk was mentioning earlier. We continue to innovate both from a hardware standpoint and a software standpoint to make sure that we give you everything that you need. Part of that seamless transition occurs with our dual SRF panel. And if you're walking into distribution tomorrow or later on this afternoon and looking at the Qolsys products on the shelves, you'll see three different products, three different box covers. The gold box is the one that has a 319 radio built in. We actually started with a 319 radio with our first generation panels. It's the same frequency that GE used, the same frequency the Interlogix used. We kind of considered it like that was the frequency, right? So that's the one we designed our sensors on, designed our panels on. So it just happened to be crazy luck that, all of you in the audience today are saying, I need a 319 solution. Well, guess what? We've got one, and we've had one for quite a while, and it's probably the industry's best. Trying to be a little humble here, but I would wager it is the industry's best 319.5 megahertz solution. And one of the reasons it's so good is because It's not just 319 for all your legacy sensors and devices out there, but it's also PowerG. And if you're not familiar with PowerG, you need to learn about it. Take some time at your distribution to learn about the PowerG. You can certainly watch some of our previous webinars. Our marketing and sales teams will be happy to teach you more about it. But PowerG is a wireless sensor technology that's great for commercial, great for residential. I mean, inevitably, you're going to walk into a home, you're going to take out the old Simon XT or the old Concord, you're going to put an IQ panel in its place, and you're going to learn in all those devices. Well, all the sensors that are in the home hopefully work. Maybe the batteries are starting to go bad on them. Maybe you could replace those batteries, or you could replace it with a new sensor. But if they don't, we can help make sure that they do. And there's some tools we'll talk about in just a moment that help make sure that all those sensors function. But let's say you do get one of those sensors that doesn't work at all. Rather than replacing the sensor with an old 319 sensor or trying to change the batteries and things like that, you can replace it with a PowerG sensor. And the PowerG sensors have a tremendous encryption on them. They've got amazing range. If you happen to have an upstairs window or an outside, garage or a detached shed or something like that you never could put a sensor on before, well, now you can. You can reach it with PowerG. If you were doing commercial installs and you couldn't get all your, you were doing everything hardwired because you couldn't run wireless that far, well, now you can with PowerG. So this one panel has LTE radios built into it. It's got Z-Wave Plus built into it. It's got 319.5 megahertz built into it. It's got PowerG built into it. It's got Wi-Fi in it. It's got Bluetooth. All of these wireless radios working together to give you a really seamless transition from what you were using before into the latest and greatest technology. And it really has gotten a tremendous reaction from the market. Before we go on, I want to make sure that we're addressing any comments or questions that the audience might have. Kelsey, Whitney, what questions do the audience have for us or for our guests?
Yeah, we have a couple questions. How do I get started on the Builder program? Asks Matt.
Matt, great question. We've got a great Builder program in place. The easiest way is send an email to builderprogram@qolsys.com, and we'll work in tangent with alarm.com's Builder program to get you exactly what you need. You can also get access to the Qolsys dealer portal, and when you get access, there's a section in downloads called Builder, and you'll be able to click on that and see lots and lots of resources. But Whitney, who's on the call today, actually helps to run our Builder program here at Qolsys. And when you reach out by sending an email to builderprogram@qolsys.com, that email will go directly to her, and then she'll be able to answer your questions directly. So thank you for the question. Other questions or comments?
Yes, Nick asks, can I use 319 sensors on any IQ panel?
Good question. So IQ panels come in 3 varieties. We mentioned the gold one here. There's also a silver boxed version. The silver boxed version has a 345 megahertz radio that works for 2 gig or Honeywell type sensors. And then there's a red box version, which has a 433 megahertz radio, which works with DSC systems. That, between the 3 boxes there, that should cover pretty much any old system that you've got in the market. It's really about 90 to 95% of the existing systems that are out in the market from a wireless standpoint. Now, all of those boxes will have PowerG. So if you wanted to pair PowerG sensors with those will work with any of those panels. But 319 megahertz sensors would only work with the IQ panel in the gold box. So great question. Thank you. Other questions, Whitney?
Yes, Cleve asks if we can give a quick rundown on what happened to Interlogix.
Kirk, you want to take that one?
Yeah, maybe this person came on a little bit late, and I outlined the 4 reasons. And out of respect to everyone on the call and timing, I won't go through those again. The article I wrote is on MacGuard website. Just go to macguard.com and you can pull down the article. If I was to take all 4 of those reasons and put it down into one, I'd probably say arrogance. And I don't mean this to be mean to Interlogix, right? I was there for many, many years. I was a customer, and I love those guys. And when I say arrogance, it's on a very, very senior level up. It's not the people that you and I worked with every day, Jeremy or Randall. These are people that just stopped listening. They probably thought they knew better than the industry, and they were trying to guide people where we didn't want to go. And that arrogance translated into not paying attention to the rank and file employees, which is as important as paying attention to your rank and file customers, and product stagnation and not being able to innovate. When you launch a product, I believe it's got to be at least in the back of the minds of the engineers and the designers and the product managers about 2 years ahead. So as Jeremy, we are talking today, I bet you that you guys have already embedded things into panels that may be prevalent in a year and a half to 2 years from now, right? Because you're listening. And manufacturers that listen are the ones that are going to survive. And so I would coin it as arrogance.
Yeah, well, and I would agree with that. I think there's certainly, that lack of innovation is in every industry out there, right? I mean, taxis are being taken over en masse by Uber and other things, Lyft and other forms of transportation. Even Lyft is now losing. Lyft and Uber say that they're losing a little bit of share to things like, bird scooters and things like that. People, using, those kind of things. So that, whether it's a newspaper or a Nokia phone, all of these organizations, whether it's an entire industry or just a single company, they have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they didn't listen and they didn't prepare for the future. They were so busy working on what they were doing today that they didn't think, what is happening tomorrow and how can I be ready for it? And that's one of the things here at Qolsys that we're very, very preoccupied with. Like Kirk mentioned, we're really working hard to build things into our platforms that you might not see right now, you might not use right now, but we have every intention of using in the future. Our camera is a great example of that. The panel camera, when we first put it in the panel, people were like, why are you putting a camera in a security panel? We're like, well, every phone has one, every tablet has one. Why wouldn't we? Who knows what we're going to do with it? We started with disarm photos. Disarm photos was a fantastic little way to say, hey, when you disarm the system, instead of guessing who used that code, now you know who's used that code. And that has actually turned into something where now everybody has their own code. It used to be systems that would just have a family code, and you could do other codes, but most people didn't. Now everyone has their own code, in great part to the panel camera, because everybody wants to know when Jimmy's code's used, I want to see Jimmy's picture. When Johnny's code's used, I want to see Johnny's picture. Well, we took that same camera and said, let's turn it into a video camera and capture videos during alarm events. And let's turn it into a motion sensor and capture disarm photos during a remote disarm from the mobile app or from Bluetooth disarming. Let's use that camera for face recognition. So we're doing a lot with it. We've got an even longer roadmap coming of things that we can do. One of the later features we did is the ability to peek in on that camera from your alarm.com app. So we're really having a lot of fun taking the hardware that's in the platform, that's in the panel, and saying, what else can we do with it using software? And that type of innovation is what's going to cause Qolsys to continue to lead in the market. And that's one of the reasons we've done so well for ourselves. And again, I'm trying not to brag too much, but I feel like we really have done well, and I'm proud of the success we've had, because we really did come from very humble beginnings, a small startup with, only a few people, working together around a conference table in San Jose, California. So it's fun to see the progress and how well the dealer industry, the dealer community in the security industry has adopted. Whitney, any other questions before we move on with our presentation?
No, I think we're good right now.
Okay, let's keep going then. So a lot of people ask, why IQ panel? What's different about it? There's a lot of people out there that only focus on price, and I think that's a big mistake. If you look at the smartphones that we carry, I don't know, I would be shocked, and I wish we had a poll question, how many of you still have a flip phone on the line today? But even if you still carry a flip phone and you don't care about smartphone technology, your consumer still cares about smartphone technology. And they're constantly trying to say, what else can I do with this? And they buy these smartphones not because it's the cheapest device out there. They buy these smartphones not because they need a way to make a phone call. They buy these devices because of everything else they do in addition to those basic features. And when someone asks why IQ panel and why should I be selling IQ panel and why will my customers want IQ panel, to me, there's a long, long list of reasons. And it starts with Bluetooth touchless disarming. Bluetooth touchless disarming is the concept that you can pair your phone with the panel and leave it in your pocket as you return home, and the system will automatically connect and disarm, and you can have this amazing hands-free experience. Go on our website, check out some of the videos about Bluetooth disarming. You literally watch mothers coming home with arms full of groceries, walking inside the house, the doors unlocking for them, lights are turning on, thermostats are adjusting again. It's a really wonderful experience, and it's something that sells panels, something that sells systems. I've got dealers that tell me every day how much more they're closing because they're offering Bluetooth touchless disarming instead of that free key fob that they used to offer. So pairing up to 5 phones for a hands-free experience, tremendously powerful and something that will really get your customers really excited about using their system. Live view and live answer. The video doorbell can actually appear on screen and you can answer it right there from it. Kirk, we mentioned earlier about the video doorbell and the popularity of that. This ability to see it on the screen is just another evolution of that. It's one thing to say, hey, when I'm not at home, I can answer my video doorbell. But what if you are at home and your phone's on the charger? Now you can answer right from the screen. You can easily unlock the door, disarm the security system and let that person in without having to walk all the way up to the door. And it's not a laziness thing. It's a security thing. Imagine your kids are at home and you don't want them answering the door. They can answer right from this. Imagine you're going on vacation and the doorbell rings. Your guest who's watching the house will be able to answer right from the panel. So the whole concept is everything you should be able to do remotely, you should also be able to do locally. We work really hard in our partnership with Alarm.com to take all the features they have and bring them to the panel, and all the features we've created on the panel and push them up to the cloud and to the mobile app. So it's a really great partnership between the two of us. The third box there is disarm photos. We talked a moment ago about the panel camera and the power there, being able to get that disarm photo on your watch, on your phone, and know who came home, know that they're okay. Just the other day, my son came home. My wife was out doing other things, and my son came home, disarmed the system. I was able to see he had a smile on his face, didn't have anyone with him, and it just made this great experience. Dual path Wi-Fi LTE connectivity is critical. As you're looking at this massive 3G sunset that's coming up and saying, what the heck am I going to do? Qolsys has you covered. With both LTE and Wi-Fi working simultaneously, and there's other manufacturers out there who claim to have dual path, but it doesn't work quite as fast or quite as well. We've really been able to take the LTE and Wi-Fi pipes and make them work literally instantly with each other. And as those signals come through, whether you're sending a command from the mobile app or you're sending a signal out or streaming cameras or whatever you're trying to do, that dual path connectivity really makes that experience excellent. We used software in the panel to turn the microphones, as another example. Kirk was talking about hardware, forward compatibility. We use the microphones on the panel to turn the panel into a glass break detector. So every system is going to get a free glass break detector. Every system gets a free photo frame, and you can customize those photo frames. In fact, Randall, you and I were talking the other day about how one of the things the builders love is the ability to customize that photo frame with messages from them and logos from them, right?
Correct. I mean, you can put, of course, their logo. You can also put, welcome to Builder X Smart Home. So basically, I think, the marketing department probably would pay quite a bit of money to be able to, pre-close for a spec house, realtors coming by, potential homeowners walking in and out of houses, the homeowner that actually purchased that home, and then, of course, all the way to post-close messaging, via the Qolsys.
Yeah, and I can imagine the look on a marketing person's face when you say, what would you do with a 7-inch billboard in the home? And they could just think, oh my gosh, what would I say? What would I do? I mean, and it's not just builders, but it's, you guys, you security dealers in the market, you're thinking, what would I say to my customer? What would I communicate? What would I share with them? Is it to join me on Facebook? Is it to call me if you ever have a problem? Is it to refer a friend? Are you going to use it to generate some new business? Are you going to use it to add new devices? Maybe you want to have an offer that says, hey, because you're an existing customer, you get a special deal on indoor cameras. Call us today. Hey, because you're an existing customer, if you refer a friend, you get a free flood sensor. Call us today or go to this website. There's some great communication that can occur there. And it's having that 7-inch screen there, not only displaying images, but being able to also play videos through the help section is a tremendously powerful tool in the hands of our dealer community. Whitney, any questions about features or things like that before we move on?
So many questions.
Okay.
Dean asked, can we use Wi-Fi or cellular, or is the service needed for both for dual path?
So great question, Steve. Dual path, when you activate an Alarm.com account on the panel, dual path is enabled by default. Now you'd want to make sure that you pair the panel to the home Wi-Fi. And when you've done that, the cellular connection you activated with Alarm.com will also utilize the Wi-Fi connection that you connected in the home and get those pathways out to the cloud, as it were. So in the event that the alarm goes off, for example, this signal will be sent over LTE and Wi-Fi, and then alarm.com would get them both, discard the duplicate one, and then act on it. And it allows, if Wi-Fi is too slow, maybe it's being bogged down because of Netflix, or, you know, maybe the home router's down, the power's out, something like that. LTE connection's still there. Or maybe there's a big storm in the area and it knocks down the LTE tower. Well, not to worry, the Wi-Fi connection's still there. So it creates this intelligent redundancy. And in other platforms, I mentioned earlier that we do it better. One of the things other platforms have done is they say, well, it's all going to go Wi-Fi. It's all just going to go that one pipe, and that's the only choice you get. And in the event that Wi-Fi doesn't work, we'll wait and try for 30 seconds. And when it stops working, then we'll turn off the Wi-Fi and turn on the cellular, and then it'll try this way instead. Well, you've got, you know, delay there. You've got problems. You've got, you know, it's just not a smart way of doing it. Our phones can easily switch between Wi-Fi and LTE within a moment. You know, the IQ panel can do the same. We're using the same technology that's found in smartphones today and leveraging it for your use. So great question, Steve. Thank you for asking. Whitney, what other questions?
Yes. Joe wants to know, can you live answer from the IQ remote as well as the IQ panel?
Great question, Joe. Yeah, in fact, a software update on the IQ panel just made it so that the IQ remotes can have what we call live view, and you can view your video doorbells. You can view your indoor and outdoor cameras all on the IQ remote. So yes, you can. And that's, again, a software update that just came out a couple weeks ago. Great question. Other questions, Whitney?
Yes. Where did it go? I'm so sorry. Kevin asks, can you program the IQ panel remotely?
Really good question, and that's something that's really important. We haven't talked a ton about that yet, but the remote capabilities, and we mentioned earlier about how we worked really hard with Alarm.com to make sure that everything you can do on the panel locally, you can also do in the cloud. That extends to settings and installer use. There's a great on-screen wizard that takes you through the installation process. You can use that to program a panel. You can also use mobile tech on your phone, the Alarm.com mobile tech app, to program a system. You can, after a system's been installed, you can use the Alarm.com remote toolkit to log in and go through and change any settings. You want to change brightness, you want to change volume, you want to turn on the dealer photo frame or turn it off again. There's lots of great features that are built into that remote connectivity, and it's everything from running diagnostics to connecting Wi-Fi to changing brightness, all the above. So it's a really, really powerful solution. And again, we couldn't do it without the great partnership we have with Alarm.com. Other questions, Whitney?
Yes. Jonas asks, does the IQ panel use voice control?
Great question. So again, this is another tip of the hat to Alarm.com. Voice control is available for Amazon Echo, Google Home, and Siri shortcuts. And all three of those work simultaneously. In fact, I've got a Google Home hub on my counter in my kitchen. Doesn't do much besides display pictures, but if we want to do a voice control type thing, like, hey, will you turn on the kitchen light? We can say, okay, Google, turn on the kitchen light, and it will work. Downstairs in the basement, we have an Amazon Echo, and we can say, Alexa, turn on the fireplace, and the Z-Wave switch on our fireplace turns on. I've got Z-Wave outlets in my children's bedrooms with their bedside tables, and we've got a little Echo Dot in each of their rooms. And I can say, you know, Alexa, turn off Ellie and Lola's lamp as I leave the room, and the light turns off just as I close the door. It's this great little experience. As I drive home each day, I say things like, hey Siri, open the garage, or hey Siri, don't actually do that, stop, sorry. It hears me. But that works. It works, and you know, all three of them work, and I'm using all three simultaneously based on where I'm at, what I'm doing. If I want to use Alexa, I can do that. If I want to use Siri, if I want to use Google Home or Google Assistant, all three are working great, and it's through a fantastic partnership with Alarm.com and all of the devices that are connected to the IQ panel that allow that smart ecosystem to function fully. It's a really, really beautiful experience. Thank you for asking that question, because voice control is one of those things that really is becoming tremendously popular, and it's a really, really critical part. In fact, one thing, if I'm in your shoes and you're a dealer saying, how do I go out and sell some of this stuff? If you walk into someone's home and you see one of those voice control devices, the very first thing I would say is, I can unlock the real power of that thing. Right now, you're checking, you know, the weather, and you're asking for recipes, and you're maybe checking on traffic, and that's about it. Well, I can let you turn your lights on and off, open your garage, close your garage, arm your security system, lock and unlock your doors, all of the above, change your thermostat. I can do all the above because we have the technology and it's all curated by us to provide you with exactly what you want. And Duncan, Randall, this is something that Duncan is doing all the time, right? This is something you're advertising with builders, and the builders are getting very excited about.
Absolutely, yeah. We're, again, promoting that one app experience. So everything, walking through the front door, like you said, the video doorbell, the light switches, the thermostats, the LiftMaster overhead garage door control, cameras. So again, we're just looking to hit those different hot topics right now and, definitely focus on that one app experience to prevent, buyer frustration and, buyers not using the system because they don't feel comfortable. So we think the one app solution through Qolsys and Alarm.com is a game changer.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Consumers are looking for this technology. They're out there buying it right now. And the question I would ask you is, do you want them to buy it from Ring, from Amazon, from Best Buy, from Nest, or do you want them to buy it from you? And if you help them understand that you do more than just security, that you do all of these things, and you can do it all in a really beautiful app with a very beautiful touchscreen on the wall, they're going to get very excited about it. So let's continue on. We'll get some more. I'm sure there's lots more questions, but one of the things I wanted to address was Hardwire, because I know there's many people in the audience today who are doing, maybe it's the Concord or the NX hardwired systems, and you're saying, well, what about my systems? How can you do that? We do have a device that allows you to take over up to 15 hardwire zones. This is rated for residential fires, and you can do up to 10 smoke detectors on this device. It's bi-directional, so you got the one go, all go with the smoke detectors, and it's got onboard power, so you can connect things like glass breaks and motions and things like that to it as well. It's a really, really great device, and you can chain them together. So if you've got more than 15 zones or more than 10 smoke detectors, you just put 2 on a system up to the number of supported zones on the panel. So it's a really, really great hardwired solution. And again, that allows you to take that old hardwired system, whether it was one of your existing customers or a new customer that you're walking in and saying, oh, you've got an old system? Yeah, I can take that over for you. And now you can walk in and give them everything we've just talked about and continue to expand out their ecosystem to give them smart lighting, thermostats, video doorbells, et cetera, everything we've talked about. Whitney, are there any questions on the Hardwire device?
Yes. What are my options to take over existing Interlogix sensors, and if we make a Hardwire in anything that is not 319.5? And that's a question from Frankie.
Okay, Frankie, good question. So if I understand the question correctly, you're saying, hey, I've got a system that is both wireless and hardwired. Well, because the IQ panel has an S-Line 319, encrypted 319 radio in it, all of those existing wireless 319 sensors will pair directly with the panel. And when you take this device that we're looking at and wire that into the home, and take the hardwire zones and wire that into it, all those hardwire zones become wireless zones that communicate over 319 to the panel. This is a 319 device you're looking at right here. So that same 319.5 megahertz frequency is used for both the wireless sensors and this device to convert the hardwired zones into wireless zones, and again, all working with the IQ panel. Now, if you do happen to have a home, let's say you walk into a home that's got an existing Honeywell system, and it's got some wireless and some hardwired. What you need to do, because the hardwired device connects over 319, you need to make a decision about which one you're going to reuse. Do I want to reuse all the hardwire sensors and wire those into the Hardwire 16 and put in the 319 panel? Or would I prefer, maybe there's only 2 hardwired zones and there's 5 wireless zones. In that case, you wouldn't want to use the 319 panel. You'd want to use the 345 panel and replace replace those hardwire zones with some new wireless sensors, and you can use those new wireless Power G sensors we were talking about earlier today. So it does give you a lot of flexibility no matter what you're looking at, what type of system you're walking into. We've got a panel and a solution for it. Good question. Thank you very much, Frankie. Whitney, other questions about Hardwire?
Yes. Nathan asks, is there a battery backup on the Hardwire device?
Great question. So if you look right here, see if I can use my mouse to point it out. I don't know if my mouse is going to work here. Down on the bottom corner, the bottom left corner of that device, there's a couple little plugs. Those actually comes with 2 cords that you plug in, and the big nickel cadmium battery, I think that's what it is, that is connected to your hardwired system now. You can literally just wire it right in there, and not only will it recharge that battery, but it will supervise it as well. So now you can get alerts on the panel saying, hey, hardwire zone or hardwire takeover module has a low battery. So great question. Thank you for that. Let's keep on going. I know we've got a lot of content to continue covering, and I want to make sure that we are, using our time wisely. I want to talk about diagnostics. We talked, quite a bit about going into an existing home, and again, whether that's your existing 3G upgrades that need to go to LTE, or just a home that you're now talking to a customer who has an existing system. We don't want you to have to feel like you have to do a lot of guesswork. In the past, security installers have really struggled trying to figure things out, and there's been a lot of workarounds and a lot of guessing and a lot of, well, let me just throw something in here to see if it works. Oh, system's not working? I don't know why. I'll just put a repeater in. Oh, system's not working? I'll just put a new lamp module in for Z-Wave. Qolsys has really worked hard to build some tremendous diagnostics leveraging the 7-inch touchscreen that we have right there in the home. One of the things we've got is our sensor test, and you can see here. I'm getting the message of a bad webcam. Hold on. I'm not, and my mouse is not working. Hopefully you're not seeing this. Are you guys seeing this slow network connection popping up on my screen? Mm-hmm. No. Sorry about this. Technical difficulties. There we go. Ignore. All right. Play again. Okay. Sorry about that, guys and girls. So what you could do is you can walk into the home and you can pair all the existing 319 sensors. Let's say you were taking over an old Simon XT, and you take all the sensors, the wireless sensors that were paired with that, pair them with the IQ panel, and then as you go through and open and close each one, it creates this little chart. See this little chart? And you can, if you look closely, you can see a red line and a yellow line on the screen. Those represent the noise floor, and that noise floor is how much wireless interference there is in the home. So the Qolsys IQ panel actually measures the wireless interference in the home and tells you whether or not that sensor is performing above that wireless noise level. And if it's performing like in the picture here, that it's performing very, very well, you know what, this sensor is going to be just fine. If that sensor is dipping down into that, that's a sensor you're probably going to have to do a truck roll for later. You're probably going to have to come back and replace that sensor or try and troubleshoot that sensor, and it's probably better to pull that one out and replace it with a new one. So it's a really, really powerful tool to make sure your technicians are getting it right before they leave the home. In the same vein, we're doing the same thing with Z-Wave. You can see the Z-Wave network. There's a topology there of all the different devices that are paired with the IQ panel. And you can see whether or not they're being used as repeaters, whether or not they're working, not working, things like that. This photograph is actually my Z-Wave network on my personal home. And you can see there's several devices that are not working. They were, things that were unplugged, or light bulbs that, the switches were turned off, or things like that. There's others that are using other nodes to get to the panel because they're too far away, and it allows you to build this really great map, and you can see how that network is functioning. We've got a lot of other tools that allow you to see the neighbors of each Z-Wave node, allows you to see the ability to do a rediscovery on those and remap the mesh network. And many of these tools are also available from alarm.com. So if you want to go on and troubleshoot a device or a panel or a network from the remote location, you can do that without having to roll a truck. And you can see there's a big long list of all sorts of diagnostics we have. And it's a really powerful thing to be able to make sure you get it right before you leave. And then I know this isn't a technical webinar. We're not talking through all this stuff from a technical standpoint, but I hope that your technicians get a chance to learn about this stuff. And if you want your technicians to participate in a webinar with us on all the different technical diagnostics and capabilities the IQ panel has, we would love to set that up for you. And there's lots of webinars that we've done in the past that they could watch right now that are on our YouTube page and on our dealer portal. So please get your technicians and your lead technicians involved in the diagnostics of the IQ panel. You won't be sorry. Whitney, any questions before we move on?
No, I think we are caught up right now.
Excellent. Well, there have been some concerns as we've been, addressing the market as you've come to us and said, what am I going to do about sensors? What if I have a panel that's working just fine, but I've got a door window sensor that's broken? How do I replace that? What do I do? Qolsys has an entire line of 319 sensors that will support you with everything you're trying to do. Door window sensors, motion sensors, glass breaks, tilt sensors, shock sensors, smokes, carbons, floods. We've got the whole gamut. And it allows you to go ahead and replace an existing, all these S-line sensors are backwards compatible. So it allows you to go ahead and replace one of those existing sensors with one of these, and it works just fine on that rubber button keypad that's already installed in the house. The beautiful thing about that as well is when the customer's ready for a new panel, because this has the S-line encryption, you'll be able to remove the old panel, put the new panel in its place, and then all of these sensors will now be able to use their encryption. These are encrypted, but only with the IQ panel. So if you do use them on something that isn't the IQ panel, then you won't enjoy that same layer of encryption. But when you're using it with the IQ panel, then you get that encryption. And we mentioned earlier Power G. We really effectively double your portfolio. There is all sorts of things that you can do with extra sensors. There's 5 different motion sensors. You want a motion that covers 360 degrees. You want a motion that's rated for commercial. You want a motion that maybe is a curtain motion where it's great for like a driveway where you can see people coming into the driveway, but not necessarily the rest of the area. You know, there's lots and lots of options here. And with Power G doubling your portfolio, not only do you double your ability to have choices, but you also expand your ability to do different things that you want to do in a home and expand out the level of protection you can provide your customers. Whitney, any questions about Power G or S-Line before we move on to Dealer Portal?
Yes. Question is, will 319.5 remain a platform supported by Qolsys in the future? Asks Scott.
Sorry, say that one again. You kind of garbled a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Will 319.5 remain a platform that Qolsys supports?
Absolutely. In fact, we have a number of 319 sensors that we just barely released this year. So we are working hard on continuing to support the 319 line. We love the 319 line. In my opinion, it's great to have options. I think of it as good, better, best. It's good to have a security system, even if it's not encrypted. It's better to have encryption. Even if you want this affordable line of S-line sensors that gives you a layer of encryption, it's better to have at least some encryption because, you know, that's the way the world's going. That's what customers expect. In fact, there was a white paper. If any of you are interested in getting access to that white paper, you can look on the Qolsys Dealer Portal or send us a message, and we'll be happy to share the link with you, that Parks Associate did several years ago. And one of the facts that they uncovered is that 65% of homeowners assumed and believed that the security sensors installed in their home already were encrypted. And the reality is about 95% of the security systems out there are not encrypted. The same technology that's been used for a long, long time, the same technology we talked about, you know, that was responsible for, you know, Interlogix, you know, reaching its demise because of lack of innovation. You know, those sensors don't have a layer of encryption and are susceptible to cyber attacks. When you want the very best, we talked about good, better, best. The very best is Power G. Power G has tremendous levels of encryption. It has frequency hopping. So if any kind of interference comes into play, it will dodge that interference and change channels. It will automatically adjust its signal strength to say battery life. It's a very, very intelligent sensor line. And that's, you know, we don't even sell the Power G sensor line. You know, that's actually sold by our sister company, Tyco DSC. And so for us to be willing to not only promote, but put a Power G radio into every single panel, hopefully is a testament to you on how important we think encryption is and how powerful we think that Power G sensor line is. So great questions. Thank you for those. Let's talk about the dealer portal. If you don't have access to the dealer portal, you are missing out. Make sure that you get access to this. It's dealers.qolsys.com. There are a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of assets available for you here. You've got training, you've got videos and commercials, icons, photos, documentation. When you're ready to get your website up to speed, you know, we're ready to help you. And there's a lot of assets that are here ready. You can see there's over 8,000 users on the dealer portal today, and we've had over 72,000 downloads of the assets that are available there. And there's lots and lots, and we're adding more every single week. We also have a very robust training program. Many of you on the line today are saying, okay, this is great, but how do I get started? Well, the first thing you want to do is get access to the dealer portal so that your technicians and your salespeople can go through the sales training and the technical training. This is going to give them a really nice foundation for all of those things, all of the things they need to learn about the new technology that's out here. And then on top of that, they can come to one of these webinars and then learn even more and bring their questions. We found it to be tremendously successful to have someone go through the LMS, take all the quizzes, pass all the courses, and then come to a webinar with all their questions that have come through their head as they're doing those. And it makes for some very interesting webinars. In fact, I'm willing to bet many of the people on the webinar today have done exactly that and have come with their questions. So thank you for joining, and thank you for participating in our training. We also, for those of you that want to participate in some great communities out there, there is a growing community of Facebook groups for technicians, for installers, for distributors, for sales and marketing, things like that. There's a lot of groups out there that you can participate. Qolsys runs 3 of them: official Qolsys technicians and installers, the official Qolsys distributors, and the official Qolsys sales and marketing. Those groups, even though they're growing rapidly, are only represent one portion of the Facebook community out there. And more we're seeing dealers, especially installers, going to Facebook and getting real-time help from the community. You can call into tech support, and we've got a great technical support department ready to help you, or you can go on Facebook, type in your question, and you'll get a whole bunch of people. You can see examples of screenshots here coming in and telling you, because they've done that same thing themselves, on how to do it. And many of you on the line today probably came because you saw some of the Facebook posts and things like that out there in the market. And I've seen posts from some of you saying things like, now that Interlogix is gone, what should I do? What panel should I choose? And, it's been really fun to see the community making recommendations to you based on their own experiences. And we're really proud of the communities that are continuing to evolve out there. We do have a special for Interlogix dealers. Hopefully you saw that on the email. You can get 319.5 megahertz panel for $319.5. And that's available through your local distributor. You could also get a 2-1 kit for $349. That's going to include 2 S-line door window sensors and 1 S-line motion sensor. That Hardwire device we talked about, we're doing a special for Interlogix dealers that will drop that price down to $65 for you. And then we're also doing some marketing for you. We know that the people that are just starting out with Qolsys need to get started with, with a solid foundation, and we're going to provide that to you in the form of 5 customized, personalized marketing pieces of material. These are our 5 most popular pieces, and we're going to customize them with your logo, and we'll deliver them to you within 5 days. Now, that 5-day requirement comes with a little bit of an asterisk. We do need to be able to have you with a special pricing agreement to get some of these great these products that we've talked about today. And then we also need to be able to have your logos and things like that. And we'll have a call with you. We'll show you what we can do. We'll deliver that to you, so that you can start using it for your sales teams, for your websites, for your, internet marketing and all of it. And again, our goal is to be your support here. And we've got a tremendous support department here. If you need to contact the Qolsys sales team, you can reach us at techsupport@qolsys.com. You can reach out to the marketing team at marketing@qolsys.com, or the sales team at sales@qolsys.com. And again, we're recording this if you want to like to either take a screenshot of this, or you can review the recording later on. But I want to give our guests today not only a thank you from me, but a chance to kind of, Kirk, if you had one more thing to say, one more thing to share, or one more piece of advice to give to the people that have been participating on today's webinar today, what would it be?
Focus. I was talking to Robert Feud earlier this morning about dealers and them losing focus, and this is a kind of a trying time right now, right? Their manufacturer's gone away if they used Interlogix, and they're looking at all sorts of things and trying to evaluate what to do next. Take your time, focus, utilize experts. As you were taking questions, Qolsys, I was getting some questions too on text. I'm sure Randall was as well. The 2 that came up were 3G to LTE. I think that's great, and I hope that the people attending this seminar will go to another seminar sponsored by Qolsys to learn how to what availability there is out there today between you and alarm.com and how to help there. And the second thing is you were talking about encryption. If you go to MacGuard's website, there's a whole article written about encryption as well, where I actually interviewed you, Jeremy. But
I remember that.
In a nutshell, it's to me, it's focus, right? The sky's not falling. Mm-hmm. You have some time, plan appropriately, do your diligence, and choose wisely.
I appreciate that, Kirk. And I think, if I can give one piece of advice to you, it's, as Kirk tells you to focus, realize the sky isn't falling. In fact, if anything, the world is now open to you. You, by offering the IQ panel and all of its associated devices, all the associated ecosystem that comes along with that, the voice control, the features, the technology, the cameras, everything, you have now opened your customer up to something that they can't get from other places. If they go to Google right now and go to Nest's website, they're not going to get everything that you can provide. They're not going to have a single solution that has one app that will allow them to control their lights, locks, thermostats, garage opener, their cameras, their security, their life safety, all of that all under one umbrella. You know, they're not going to have, you can provide them something that other companies, even the biggest companies in the world, can't yet provide. Now, I would challenge you to take advantage of this opportunity because it's fleeting. I can't guarantee that they're going to stay out of all the things you can do forever. In fact, they're probably working on ways to try and enter all of those markets right now, all of those different opportunities. And we talked earlier about the different verticals, you know, the wellness vertical, the MDU vertical, the builder vertical, commercial. You know, you can use this same solution in all of those and provide all of these technologies, all of these features to those customers. And it's something that no one else can do, but you are uniquely positioned to do that. So focus in, relax, and realize, take some pride. You are in a tremendous position to offer something that no one else can offer. And this is something that, Randall, you're doing every single day. You know, this is, as you know, the owner, and you know, you're running this company that's doing exactly this with builders and on the residential side and the commercial side and things like that. What feedback or what advice do you have for those people on the line today who are maybe still not quite sure whether or not they want to offer Qolsys? Is this something that, you know, has been a positive impact on your business? And what advice do you have as they go throughout this process of evaluating what their next equipment provider should be?
Yeah, I think I've still a couple things I heard from a couple conferences, but one was from a friend of mine at IQ Legrand, and it struck a chord a couple years ago, and it just seems to be kind of becoming realistic in the word complexity. You know, I think we're in exciting times, but with everybody, you know, homeowners trying to bring items, you know, to the equation, we get done and we activate the system and demonstrate the system, and then the phone rings and the buyers want to add to the system. I think if we're not careful, the complexity of what we do can be actually to our detriment. So I guess I would encourage everybody on the call today to, you know, I'm not going to say pick this specific platform or the specific hardware, but just keep complexity in mind. You know, having, as we know, these items, you know, can lose connectivity. They can have issues. Homeowners can unplug things, move things around. So I would just look at the total solution, you know, such as, you know, you can find with the Qolsys and Alarm.com with remote technical support. That's been a huge key to minimizing truck rolls to keep our expenses down. We utilize the software to rank our technicians. You know, through the software available, we can look at how many go backs are we having per activation. We can then drill down to and rank the technicians by the highest to the lowest number of go backs per technician, and then we can focus in on that technician and train him or her on potentially where they're lacking, you know, and we can reduce truck rolls. So again, complexity. I just see every day I wake up and the word that pops up in my head is complexity. So what can we do? And I'll steal another slogan from a individual at Qolsys, and that's duplicable and repeatable. You know, I think just, again, minimize the complexity and as much as possible, try to make what we do in this business duplicable and repeatable. It will, you know, save us on inventory. It will save us on training. It'll be a better user experience, whether it's a homeowner, whether it's a builder, whether it's a model home. You know, the more that we can get these customers comfortable with the system, the more they're going to use it, and thus the more they're going to keep it.
I can't thank you enough for that, Randall. And I 100% agree with you on the complexity standpoint, because there's a lot of people who feel like because of all this awesome stuff you can do, that they need to go and they need to offer all of it to the customer. When the reality is, when the customer sees that price tag, they're going to go, whoa, that's more than I was really willing to spend at the moment. But I believe smart homes are built, not bought. I believe that your customers want to hear from you on a regular basis. If you buy an Amazon Echo, you're going to start getting weekly emails. What's new with Alexa? Here's what else you can do. Excuse me. If you buy a Google Home Hub, you're going to get the same thing. These companies are going to continue to market to you. And I would challenge you, if you're not marketing to your customers today, if you're not offering up some of these other services, you need to start, because maybe you're not going to sell them every single possible thing that they can buy today. And even if you could, they probably either can't afford it or couldn't understand all of it, because it really can be tremendously complex. But give them the base package of what you feel like they need to start with. The IQ panel, a few door window sensors, smoke detector, maybe a video doorbell. You get them that base package there, and then they're ready in 3 or 4 months from now to start thinking about the next item. And maybe it's a camera, maybe it's a flood sensor, maybe it's a door lock. Who knows? But as you continue to market to them and make them aware of these other technologies that you can offer, the complexity starts to decrease, because they get used to what they have. They want to buy something else. They want to add something else. And rather than getting it from someone else, they come to you first. You are the industry expert. You are the one who they're going to trust to say, hey, if I'm about to buy a light bulb here, which one should I buy? You can give them that advice. And if your salespeople and your technicians during the install and during the sales process go to your customers and say, hey, I'm not expecting you to buy all this stuff today. I want you to know we can do all this stuff. So when you're ready for this, come to me, and we're going to work on programs and ways for you to get these items, because our goal with you, Mr. Customer, is that you're going to have everything on this list. Your whole home is going to be smart, and we'll do that as you can afford it, as time goes on, as you're ready to adopt each piece. And some people are going to want to move fast. Some people are going to want to move slow. Some people won't move at all. But it's up to you as the professional to take this opportunity and make sure they don't go hunt for those same technologies with another company. And you end up losing not only that share, but potentially the future share as well. So again, I can't thank you guys enough for being on our webinar today. I want to give one last chance to our audience to ask any questions they have to our guest or to me. Whitney, anything else that we need to make sure we cover before we end today?
No, I think we're all caught up. Thank you for participating. Great. There's been so many questions. I love it.
Yeah, we do love it. And again, this has been recorded. We'll post this on our YouTube page later on today. You'll all receive a link to this recording in an automatic email that will go out tomorrow. So be watching for that. Please share it with other people. You guys had made mention earlier of the LTE upgrade program that Qolsys has in conjunction with Alarm.com. You can get up to $90 in rebates with that program. If you want to learn more about that, please chime in. We can send you information about it. You can also watch a webinar we did a couple weeks ago on that very subject and showing you how to take advantage of those with your existing customers. But again, thank you very much, Kirk and Randall. It's been an absolute honor having you on the line today. Really thank you for your expertise, for the insight that you've given to our customers today, and for the time that you've taken to address these questions and share your insights.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. We'll hopefully see you on the next webinar. And thank you very much for participating. Well, have a good day.